It's time for the Objects of Time. Hey everybody, and welcome to Objects of Time. As your host, I would like to say that this episode is really looking good. Get it? Looking good? Because it's about eyeglasses. That's right, today we're going on a wild ride through the history of eyeglasses. From their humble beginnings as well rocks, all the way to the stylish specs you see on the runway today. We're talking centuries of vision correction, and maybe even a few fashion faux pas along the way. So if you're ready to see the world in a whole new light, pun intended, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for more awesome content. Let's get to it.
Okay, so picture this. It's the Middle Ages. You're a monk, right? You spend your days hunched over ancient texts, trying to decipher the secrets of the universe. But there's one problem. Your eyesight is terrible, and there's no Warby Parker in sight. What's a monk to do? Well, they turned to what we call reading stones. Basically, these were just rounded pieces of glass or quartz that magnified text when placed on top of it. It wasn't pretty, but hey, it got the job done. These early monks were like the original hipsters, rocking the reading stones before reading stones were cool. They were all about that simple life, you know? No fancy frames, no designer logos, just pure, unadulterated vision enhancement. Can you imagine using a rock to read? I can barely read with my contacts in. But hey, you got to respect the ingenuity. These monks were ahead of their time. They paved the way for the eyeglasses we know and love today. So next time you're struggling to read a text message, just be thankful you're not stuck with a reading stone.
Fast forward a few centuries and we find ourselves in Italy, the land of pizza, pasta and eyeglasses? That's right, folks. The Italians were the ones who took those clunky reading stones and turned them into something we might actually recognize today. Around the late 13th century, some brilliant Italian glassmakers figured out how to craft lenses and attach them to frames that could actually be worn on the face. And bam! The first spectacles were born. Now these weren't exactly the sleek, stylish frames we're used to. Think more like two magnifying glasses, held together by a hinge, perched precariously on your nose. But hey, it was a start, and it was a game changer. Suddenly, people who had struggled to see their whole lives could finally experience the world in sharp detail. Can you imagine the look on their faces? It must have been like magic. It wasn't long before these spectacles started spreading across Europe like wildfire. From scholars to merchants, everyone wanted a piece of the action, and who could blame them? Who? Chapter 3: The Renaissance, Eyeglasses Become Art. Now, let's fast forward again to the Renaissance. This was a time of incredible intellectual and artistic flourishing. And guess what? Eyeglasses were right there in the thick of it. As eyeglasses became more common, they also became more stylish. Craftsmen started experimenting with different materials and designs, turning these vision aids into true works of art. We're talking intricate carvings, precious metals, even gemstones. These Renaissance folks spared no expense when it came to their eyewear. They were basically walking around with tiny sculptures on their faces. And it wasn't just about looking good. Different styles of frames started to emerge to suit different needs. For example, there were frames with lenses specifically designed for farsightedness or nearsightedness. Eyeglasses were no longer just a luxury for the wealthy or a necessity for scholars. They were becoming an essential part of everyday life for people from all walks of life. It was a revolution, a vision revolution.
Chapter 4: The 20th Century. From cat eye to aviator, glasses take flight. Hold on to your hats, folks, because things are about to get really stylish. The 20th century was a whirlwind of innovation and change, and the world of eyeglasses was no exception. This was the century that saw eyeglasses transform from a purely functional device into a major fashion statement. And it all started with the movies. Suddenly, everyone wanted to look like their favorite Hollywood stars, who were often sporting the latest and greatest in eyewear. And the styles. Oh man, the styles. We had the glamorous cat-eye frames made iconic by Marilyn Monroe, the cool and collected aviators sported by pilots and movie stars alike, and the oversized intellectual frames favored by artists and intellectuals. And let's not forget about the technological advancements. We saw the introduction of plastic frames, which were lighter and more durable than their metal counterparts. We also saw the rise of contact lenses, which offered a whole new level of discretion and convenience.
Chapter 5. Modern designer frames see and be seen. And that brings us to today. In the 21st century, eyeglasses are more than just a tool to see. They're a statement. They're a way to express your personality, your style, your unique perspective on the world. We're living in the age of the designer frame, where brands like Versace, Gucci, Prada, and Tom Ford are all vying for a spot on your face, and the options are endless. Want something bold and colorful? Check. Prefer something sleek and minimalist? You got it. How about something vintage-inspired with a modern twist? Done and done. And the best part is, there's a perfect pair of glasses out there for everyone. Whether you're a trendsetter, a classicist, or just someone who wants to see the world a little more clearly, there's a pair of frames out there with your name on it. So go ahead, embrace the world of eyewear. Experiment, have fun, and find the frames that make you feel like the best, most confident version of yourself. Because at the end of the day, seeing well and feeling good go hand in hand.
Well, folks, there you have it. A whirlwind tour through the fascinating history of eyeglasses. From humble reading stones to high-fashion accessories, it's amazing to see how far these vision aids have come. It just goes to show that even the most everyday objects have a rich and surprising story to tell. So, the next time you put on your glasses, take a moment to appreciate the long and winding journey they took to get there. Thank you so much for joining me on this ocular adventure. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more awesome content. Until next time, stay curious.